So, welcome back to the show. Like I said, my name is Okpe Lawrence Okpe, and today we are discussing religion. By my left hand side, I have someone I see as a very strong support system to what I do. And by the way, he just got married. I don't know if you want me to share that, but you know, yes, and he's my guest. He has been my guest before. Remember that guest that said Jesus is not a Christian? He's right here one more time. We don't know what we'll be expecting this time, but we have in the studio Dr. Bishop Abba. You're welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, Mr. Lawrence.
Thank you. Dr. Bishop says he's a Christian mystic. We're going to have a section where he's going to, break that down very, very well for us. And by my right hand side, I have a brother and someone who was once a pastor of a very big denomination for that matter. Once a pastor, so you need to handle that carefully. But right now, he said he's a humanist, and he goes by the name Abraham Daniel. So, Mr. Abraham Daniels, you're welcome to the Black Giant podcast.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Sir. Thank you. So, you see what we're having today? It's going to be so formal. Now, let's go straight to the business of the day. Dr. Bishop, Mr. Abraham, Christianity. From your own perspective, what is Christianity?
Are you referring to me?
Yes, please, sir.
Yes. Like we all know, Christianity was coined from Christ. According to their Bible, the early disciples were living like Christ or Jesus Christ, and they called them Christians. I think first in Antioch. So from there, everyone they started calling that form of people Christians. So with such Christ-like kind of practice. So I think it was from there Christianity was gotten. So
yes,
that's my take on that.
That same knowledge and understanding as is there something more you want to add to it?
No, actually, I think Abraham Daniel has said it succinctly. I think I'll just add the fact that, like I said in our previous, interview here,
yes,
that Christianity is more like a moniker, is a mimicry, more like trying to characterize a set of people because of a certain kind of belief system, lifestyle that they have patterned themselves after a fellow called Jesus the Christ or Jesus from Nazareth. So actually with that he has spoken accurately.
Yes, exactly. But now the question now is should we come to a conclusion like other religions have argued that Jesus Christ is not God, he's just a prophet. Are you of that opinion?
Okay, first of all, you see, like I said, you must understand the fact that Christianity is a language. And every religion on the face of the earth is actually a language. That's people's attempt to try to give voice or give meaning to the mystical, something they do not understand or something outside the purview of their understanding. Now, the same thing also with Christianity. You see, if we are to go into the origin of Christianity, like I told you last time that I don't subscribe to the kind of Christianity that is being practiced. I don't actually see myself as a Christian. I actually believe in the concept of the Christ, because you must understand that what the concept of the Christ was even before Christianity. Socrates once called him the Logos. If you go to other religion, you have the Atman and the Brahman. If you go to every culture on the face of the earth, you have the Adam Kadmon, if you're referring to the Kabbalist. Different names. Now, whatever name you call the Christ, we call him the Logos or the Pragma. Now, as Christ, you are referring to something beyond just that religious figure. Most Christians today, they only know of a religious figure. But when we talk about the Christ, we're talking about the underlying principle that actually permeates, that actually animates, that actually consists within every single thing, both visible and invisible, both matter and what waves and energy.
You have said so much about just this personality, Christ, and I would want to throw that now to you, Abraham Daniels, because I followed you over time on social media, even down to the last minute before the section began. You are of the opinion that Christ is just an illusion. Where did you get the concept, and how would you want to back that up?
Yeah, Christ is completely an illusion. When people capture the whole thing about Christ, sometimes they all sit back and laugh. Just a good description of a good guy, some good guy, just like an actor. If you watch movies like Spider-Man, Tom and Jerry, and the rest of them, people write script for them.
Yeah.
So people sit behind and script, and just like the puppet masters design how this should look like, and so appealing and beautiful that everybody could jump at. So when you look at that, the whole thing about Christ is an illusion. If historically there was a time I made a post, if they've traced any DNA of anybody called Christ or Jesus Christ. And from what I've studied and read, I have not found
DNA
of Christ physically, just like we all have, just like we all human beings have DNA.
Could one argue that at that time there was no?
You still have historians that still get particles, pieces of materials here and there. That okay, we got a piece of cloth, or we got something that you could trace to somebody that was born without the meeting of a man and a woman. Till this moment, I've not seen. It's just people speaking, people defending, people talking, and that alone is just like I watch. There was a clip I read one time. A white man, he said to his son that Muhammad Ali was a white man, and he said, I will tell my son that Muhammad Ali was a white man. Yes. And when I saw that clip, I laughed and smiled. I said, yes, that's how they distort history. They push a narrative that may not be there, and that man, we may laugh at it. But if he persists, he can utter a whole lot, and before you know it, we all are in the next 200-300 years, everybody is saying Muhammad Ali was a white man. So that's how it was.
Now he just made a point.
Yeah, I would love to respond to that.
You already understand what I wanted to say.
Understand. Okay. First of all, you see, we can sit here and debate the divinity of Jesus. We can debate the death or the birth of Jesus Christ. We can debate whether he was born of the Holy Spirit or two people didn't come together. But no reasonable historian has ever doubted the historicity of Jesus, because I think the first point he's picking out is the historicity of Jesus. I would like to read something for you. You see, the claim that Jesus of Nazareth never existed, often called Christ myth theory, it has a beginning. The Christ myth theory circulates online but has no support among professional historians, while scholars fiercely debate what Jesus taught, how he died, and what it means. Now, it's subject to debate, but the existence of a first century Jew teacher named Jesus is one of the most settled facts in ancient history. The consensus exists because historians judge sources, not theology. By that standard, Jesus is better attested than most Galilean peasants from the first century. Let me round up. The scholarly consensus is overwhelming and non-sectarian. Virtually all scholars of antiquity agree that Jesus of Nazareth existed in the first century Judea. This isn't a Christian claim. It includes Jewish agnostics and atheist scholars who apply the same method they use for Socrates, Pilate, or Hiltel. Now, Barman Elman, an agnostic New Testament scholar at UNC Chapel Hills, put it directly. He certainly existed as virtually every competent scholar of antiquity, Christian or non-Christian, agrees. Now, Elman is one of the foremost scholars on earth, well respected, and he's not a Christian, he's an agnostic.
But he accepted that.
Yeah. He said he certainly exists. He said you can debate his divinity. You can debate whether he died or whether he resurrected. But the historicity of Jesus is in no doubt. That no historian who knows his onions will ever doubt the historical Jesus. There was a guy who actually lived. His name was Jesus in Nazareth. Literally. So historians are not actually confused about that. You understand? Now, let me just run it. You see, Christian agrees. Eman has spent his career arguing against Christian dogma, yet he rejects mysticism because the historical method doesn't allow it. But for the veracity of what a historic Jesus, every true historian, both Christian, non-Christian, atheist, or agnostic, agree that there was a historic Jesus.
History of Jesus.
Okay, I love good narratives. When I hear punch, sweet narrative, it gladdens my heart.
No, narratives from experts.
No, you see.
No, take note of that.
Okay. I love good lines.
Let's hear him.
I love good lines. Why I love good lines is because whatever we say should be tested.
Absolutely.
Before we did set up this, you tested your mic.
Absolutely.
And that's facts. So when someone, there's one time I did a research on propaganda, and I understood what we are in for. Most of the things we read online, we push forward, are propagandas. And as a humanist, I drive my life based on facts. I don't believe in belief. So when you push a thing to me, if you say Jesus ever lived, the issue is, if I can't see any concrete evidence, whoever said it, it's none of my business. If you said you ate with him like the other guy that said he drank tea with him, anybody can come up with any narrative, man. I can come up and say I just had some fun with Jesus, we play some soccer. So it doesn't add up to me. If you tell me that Abraham was here, there was evidence that Abraham was here.
Video picture.
Come on, video picture. Do you know I touched this water, I could get the fingerprint. Okay. I remember I watched a documentary of a man that his wife was unalive, and he cordoned, it was in an apartment. He moved out of that apartment, he cordoned it for 26 years. He was paying for that apartment until he got a DNA test of the person that unalived his wife. That is how life works. It's not by story.
But if I may ask,
yes,
how would that have been achieved? Tracing back to history.
History, you see, one thing about life is that life is constant. No matter how it evolves, you can still get water. You see this water? It's constant. You have different types of water, but the short thing about water is the real water is water. So if you trace it, you can find.
But I have seen on screen and other places where people will go to visit the place he was first buried before he resurrected.
These are all artificial, bro. These are all artificial. They created them. It's content. They had to they had to make something.
Content,
it's content. It's artificial content.
Something the whole world goes
Of course. You see, you don't know how narrative propagandas are done. If you are not careful, you get to a point where you'll be doubting yourself. You begin to doubt yourself, and that's the power of propaganda.
Are you saying that there was no personality called Jesus?
No personality. It was created. And
sorry, I would like to ask Abraham Daniel a question.
Please go ahead.
Now, do you believe that Socrates was a historical figure?
I've
Do you
read
believe
about
that
it.
Alexander the Great was a historical figure?
You see, let me tell you.
it's a
Let me
simple
tell you.
question.
Let me tell you.
Do you believe
Let me
Alexander
tell you.
the Great?
Like I told you, I don't believe in belief. So
Okay.
I have read about him. I've read about him.
Have you read about him?
Yes, but let me
Socrates?
let me tell you now. Let me tell you now. You see, when it comes to articles being traced to people and personalities, I am very careful. The reason why I am careful is because social media has been bombarded with all kinds of narrative, and even articles that were not actually written by these persons, they assume that these guys wrote them. So when I see any article credited to anybody, I don't really bother myself as a person. What I bother is the facts of these articles traced to now.
Yes, I get.
Okay, first
let me come. I'll come.
Okay, sorry, let me respond to something. Let me respond just a minute.
Okay.
Now, first of all, you see, you must understand that whether we like it or not, we understand propaganda. We understand fringe theorists. Like, you know me very well. I've experimented with practically 6 different religions. I didn't accept Christianity on the basis of the fact that I was born a Christian. I was a rebel from birth. I've been a member of Rosicrucian. I've been a member of a Kanka. I've practiced practically every religion you know on earth. At the point I was a Muslim for close to about 3 months. Why? Because of what? I don't want to accept anything on the basis of hearsay. I want to test my truth. You understand? And but whether we like it or not, there are authorities on earth. Even my beloved brother here, some of the things you've come to accept, whether you call it belief or not, they are still beliefs. You have it, you read it from books. No, listen, you were not born with such knowledge. You depended on somebody's scholarly, enterprise to arrive at certain beliefs. Yes, there are certain things you discover based on yourself, but whether we like it or not, every one of us can trace certain things we believe to somebody, to some level of authority. Now, these guys, I'm telling you, these are not articles that are attributed to people online. These are living entities. These are people. Number one, they are not Christians, and we're not talking about one
What is
person.
the source of? What is the source?
No, even if you can just ask AI.
That's
AI will bring it. Listen. No, I'm just saying you can even ask AI. AI can bring it, and there are historical books. Now, what I'm telling you is that it is a consensus among scholars that actually, after having debated, and when I mean consensus among scholars, we're not talking about Christian scholars. Because one thing I do, when I'm making a research and I want to get to the root of the truth, I will not look for a Christian apologist. Because an apologist is trying to speak out of sentiment.
Yeah.
I will look for somebody who has something against that same religion. Now, Bart Ehrman was never a Christian, he was an agnostic. As we proceed, we will explain the difference between a deist, an atheist, a theist, an agnostics, and a gnostics. Those are 5 basic beliefs or stands that practically everybody on earth fall into one of these five stands. You are either a theist or an atheist, a deist or an agnostic or a gnostic. Every human being on earth, we must fall into this 5 fold. But the truth is that whatever you've come to learn today, you are building on somebody's research.
So
then we now are making our own personal researches. Like there are certain knowledge that I have. That what I can tell you, okay, somebody actually put me on the line to search this knowledge. But there are certain empirical researches I've made personally and from my own experience, from logical thinking, applying logics and experimenting with certain things that I can own those truths, that this is my own personal research.
How did you come to a conclusion that Christ exists? Because he is saying yes, he does not. Just
now, first of all, like I'm a student of history. Well, right from when I was a child, history has been my fascination. I've read tons of historical books. And I can tell you categorically, like I said, if there's one thing, there is no scholar on earth. Mention the name of the scholar anywhere. Anybody will mention this, whoever the scholar is, that actually who knows his onions, who is a true scholar. Whether he is an atheist, an agnostic, a deist, or a theist that has not accepted the fact that there's a historical figure. To doubt the existence of Christ is to say people like Socrates does not exist, Plato does not exist, Alexander the Great does not exist, all these great people does not exist. Now, the thing that we can debate, we shouldn't even talk about this because this is a settled fact. We can debate whether he was divine, whether he died, whether he resurrected, whether he was born of a virgin, or he didn't. A man or a woman did not meet to produce.
I think
but the historicity of Jesus cannot be actually debated.
Yes, if you say we can debate, if you actually confirm.
When I mean we can debate this, is because number one, there are certain things that are meant for the realm of mystery. You understand? Now, there is nobody that was there when the Holy Spirit impregnated her. What I say, I'm actually putting a caveat. There are certain things that are subject to debate. You can debate to say, okay, who tell you Christ is not Jesus? It's Bible that says this. It's not the Bible. Now we can do that. But in terms of the historicity, it's not even a biblical thing.
Now,
this is pure history.
We really need to forge ahead.
Yes.
Mr. Abraham Daniel,
Yes.
You're not even saying there was a being called Christ, but he wasn't God. You're saying
there was none.
That means you're trying to question the existence of Christianity. Does it mean
no, not just Christianity. He's questioning what historical authorities or scholars who have lived. Yes.
Of course.
So he's saying that he's actually questioning history.
History generally.
Not Christianity now.
And then you're saying that
Christianity is a separate thing. We are talking about a figure. Forget about Christ as God. We are talking about a figure, a man called Jesus. Jesus is a normal name. It's not any space. It's a normal name. Anybody can be it. I can give my child
so
Jesus.
that's what I'm saying generally. You are questioning the being, the personality of Jesus. That means everything.
Not the personality of Jesus, the historicity of Jesus.
Okay. Whether you call it the historicity of Jesus, the personality of Jesus.
Going somewhere. That means Christianity as practiced, like you first did say that some people just, according to how you put it, a quote, right? Some people just came up and said, oh, these people are behaving like
Christ.
Like Christ.
I said their Bible. You remember?
You said their Bible. So now you totally question the existence of this category of people, this religion called Christianity. That's what you're saying. So I saw one of your posts where you said praying through Christ is a waste of time.
Absolutely. Very, very big waste of time. You see, and that's why I love it when, like I said, when people talk beautiful things. I love it. It's so fascinating when I hear them talk. Me is to push, and you prove to me. Look, I'm not an emotional person.
Absolutely.
I'm not an emotional person. I'm a factual person. And when you talk about some of the things we learned and we know that was built on history and all of that, as a person, some of the things I do is I question everything. I question as many things that I come across. I question them. The reason is because it's not because of it. I want to learn. I want to know. And I want to be deliberate so that curiosity for me is life.
So have you come to a conclusion?
It's a conclusion.
By knowledge.
By knowledge, by facts. Like I just told
you don't believe in history.
No. Like I said, we have a whole lot issue with history. As a person, as a humanist, we have a whole lot issue with history. History has been so bastardized and distorted to fit a narrative. And for me, when people quote history for me, I don't swallow them. I just listen to that beautiful narration, and I still like I just told you, if you look at the concept of Israel, the Israelites, where they are today, is just, I think they are not up to 100 years old, where the particular site where they are.
First location was destroyed.
Okay, whatever you call it. Anybody can say the first location was destroyed. So where they are now. So when you push narrative, and that's one thing I know about propagandists, propagandalists or whatever they call them. They know how to take control of music, arts, whatever, to capture the moment and make everybody to run along certain narrative. Let me give you a practical example. When COVID-19 came up, everybody COVID-19, fix masks, blah, 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 blah. And at the initial, it wasn't really making news. What did they do? Narrative. So they're pushing it. And when you begin to test what is really COVID-19, there were some folks that are of the opinion that there was not really anything like COVID-19. So that's one thing about propaganda. You no matter how, look, the puppet guys, they know how to push narrative. At one point, and when we talk about puppet guys, there are people that want power per time. What they do is, what do we do to control people? What do we do to sell a particular product? What do we do to get loyalty of people per time? And they push it. And there's nothing.
So you think the figure of Jesus Christ is just a propaganda?
A propaganda. It never a propaganda. A very big one.
Is it one thing? We can sit here.
Muhammad, so let me give you an example.
Okay.
I'm not a Muslim.
Yeah.
Okay.
But you believe Muhammad?
I don't believe. It's a fact. You see, that's one thing people don't understand. Of course, Muhammad existed. But
okay, is he a historical figure?
Beside history.
No. If you agree that Muhammad is a historical figure, Muhammad attested to the historicity of Jesus. Now, this one thing, you accept one.
Let me.
I wanted him to drop them.
You see. Let me tell you. Let me tell you now.
Yes.
Let me tell you now. This is what I tell people.
Yes.
See, forget about who said what. That's why I say I don't believe in. Look, I don't care who said what.
You don't believe in belief?
I don't believe in belief. If you like, I know okay, for instance, the commander-in-chief of the armed forces of Nigeria is Bola Ahmed Tinubu.
Absolutely.
If Tinubu said something, it doesn't make it right.
Of course.
Tinubu may be alive, be a human being, and Tinubu could say something wrong. So it doesn't matter. If Tinubu is alive, but what he said is wrong. So I don't care what he said. I know
at the same time. You see, actually, for somebody who is actually on the pursuit of knowledge, be careful to speak in absolutes, because the same principle you are also pushing toward them is also applicable to you, because the fact that you say a thing doesn't make it true also.
Absolutely.
The fact that what you consulted certain authorities also doesn't make them true. They could also be pushing a propaganda. No, because nobody is immune to being. No, you're right. So let's not speak in absolute about things that, for example, now, if I'm to ask you now, what's the name of your great grandfather? Now, there's a point you will reach, you don't even know where your origin.
Excuse me.
You become lost as to your origin. Now, it's for somebody now to tell you that what, okay, let's assume to the 10th generation. And there was a man who was called Okpe. Okpe is your 10th generation, from where you derive your 10th generation. Then you said the fact that what, I don't see Okpe, I've never seen him, he does not exist. Now, people who were there who actually passed either history or myths, the fact that we say a thing is a mythology doesn't mean it's actually what fake, because what we call was spoken history and what documented history. Now, if you go to, for example, my family, there are certain history that what are not documented but spoken. What was told my father, that my father told you. But at the same time, just like I was telling somebody that in the Bible, now you cannot say the entire Bible is the word of God. I don't believe that. The Bible is what a library. It's a historical document. But contained within it what inspired truths. And when we talk about God, we've not even gone to the main thing. We're talking about the basic existence of God or not. Now, and when I told you last time, I said number one, the conception of God. I don't believe in that concept of God. But that there is a causal intelligence that actually parented what the reality we see. It's actually in no debate before any historian, before any scientist, before any quantum physicist. It's already an
let me say something. You see, when you talk about spoken, written document and all of that, I got no issue with that. But one thing about me is, if I see a thing, I should scrutinize it.
I should be able to ask question. If you tell me this is water, and acid also look like that too. So I shouldn't say, oh, it's water. Oh, come on, let's go. No. If you say this is water,
no, I agree with him.
Excuse me. If you said it's water, I have to take it through some level of scrutiny. And from there, I could draw out my conclusion. I could say, no, it's not water. I should be able to find out for when I mean finding out for myself, it's not really maybe like having a physical fact or something, but I should be able to trace.
Come to your own personal conclusion.
Not just personal. Not just personal.
Okay.
Because
it's a personal
no, not just personal. Let me give you an example. I love examples a lot. If we all said this is water, if we all said this is water, and somebody enter and say no, it's not water, it's an acid. And we said, okay, it's your personal conclusion. It's not personal. There is a standard. There is a standard, a procedure that said this is, I think, water science to the HO2.
Yes.
It's a HO2. So if the other person is saying no, it's acid, that guy could be. It's an illusion.
Let's go this way now. Now, if you say there is no Christ, and you already said that going through Christ to praying through Jesus Christ
is complete.
Now, are you still doubting the facts around miracles, the facts around? So what would you say is responding to the prayers of Christians? You know, when they pray and then they testify that God heard their prayers and this happened and this happened. If you doubt it, what would you say response to that? Would you just say it's a spirit or a being somewhere, or it was just luck?
There's no spirit even. There's nothing like spirit.
So nothing
now let me tell you. I've been in that system. I was a pastor for 20 years. I was a pastor for 20 years, and so I practically practice these things. Let me tell you something about atmosphere and environment. If you are in, maybe somebody had malaria, and he walked into a place where they are playing football, and he's a football fan. He loves football, and everybody that hype. Maybe his club is even playing. If care is not taken, that young man may not even remember that he had malaria. Because of the atmosphere, the environment is charged, his emotion is high. The game is on, and especially if his club wins, oh my God, the guy will be so happy that, look, he will be so overwhelmed. It is like after 1 or 2 hours, like, oh, that headache again.
So are you trying to say that answers come and go?
No, not answers. environment. There's what we call it environment infusion and influence. It is just environmental. And let me give you an example. What we call miracle are just environmental infusion. And if you, I remember watching in video clips of Michael Jackson, how people fall, in excitement and all of that. So when pastors, Christians talk about miracles, as you begin to critically scrutinize what they call miracle, at the end of the day, it's just it's nothing. It's practically nothing. So there is nothing as miracle. It is just people trying to describe what doesn't exist. And to be honest with you, if anybody claims, like my good friend here, or you, anybody claims miracle, I will put it to test.
That takes us to my next question. I realize that we're having a lot of banter here. So, Dr. Bishop, you have been in you said you've done your research and all that. Yes. You traced history, apart from the fact that you're convinced and all that. Who answers prayer of the Christian type?
Yeah, first of all, there is no God that answers prayer.
There is no God.
Listen, there is no God that answers prayer. God doesn't answer prayer. You see, you must understand something. There's what we call the quantum field. Now, because of the ancient and old antiquated knowledge, which was called what the Newtonian physics was based upon, because there was a time that people believed that the world was spherical. Now, there are three things we must actually look into before we even come to the concept of whether there is a God that exists that answers prayer. The question is, does God exist? Now, there must be a God that exists before you can even talk about answers prayer. Now, number one, I don't believe there is a God that exists. I don't even believe in the existence of God. I only believe in the subsistence of what a causal intelligence, which we can put our own private moniker based on our own historical encounter with him. Like I told you earlier, for example, now, when people talk about Jehovah Jireh, Jehovah Nissi, Jehovah Destin, now these are people trying to these are what fallible minds trying to describe something that is outside the purview of their five senses. So they give it code names to try to make sense of it. For example, now God does not exist in the sense of which this table exists, this phone exists. Because number one, he is a causal agent. God actually subsists. He is actually the primary principle that underlies everything that is visible. Now, when quantum physicists and physicists began to make a research in about 70 years ago, you said the China, Japan, America, and the main superpowers came together and they actually picked about 3,000 scientists from all walks of life, from different nations, to work on what we call the Human Genome Project. Now, when they were working on the Human Genome Project and they decoded the Human Genome Project, you now come to realize that what we even call matter, whatever you call is material, you see what is basically atoms, and these atoms have actually what you call actually things that cannot even be seen by our physical eyes. And when you peel an atom, like the way you peel an onion, you come to a basis of what we call the boson, which we call the Higgs boson. Now, when you peel the Higgs boson, you come to photons. What are photons? Photons are what actually sparks of light. Then when you stripe it back, there's what we call the quark. Now, at the quark, they couldn't study the quark because you cannot locate the quark at a particular place. Now, even though the quark was part of the atom, they realized that the quark was everywhere at the same time. So if you were studying it here, you could observe the effect of the quark in America. So they now, for lack of words, they actually call it what they call the God particle. But beyond the God particle, as science progressed, they now come to what they call open space as the quantum field, or what you call the quantum field, or the field of boundless energy. Now they now realize that at the basis of what we call reality or matter is something invisible. Now, Christianity can call it spirit realm. I don't call it spirit realm. You can use any language to describe it. But I'm telling you, this is what empirical evidence in a lab under clinical test, repeated again and again. This is pure science. I'm not even talking religion now. This is pure science by former scientists from all walks of life. Now take note, they made sure they picked them from people who were atheists, agnostic, who don't even believe in God. So they had no agenda or no axe to grind. And there is an established fact, the fact that behind what we call existence, there is actually a causal intelligence behind it. And in everything, you will notice that everything everything vibrates. There is a sound, a rhythm, a music behind practically everything. No, now that God, which people in Christianity limit to a concept of the word God. Now, I can understand with them. If you tell me that, okay, there is a causal agent.
When you say them,
now, I use the word them because, number one, I don't share the same level of belief. Now, I don't believe in God. I know there is a causal agent. I have empirical encounter with that causal agent. And it's my own personal truth. And not just a personal truth, it has become an absolute truth because, number one, it has been tested in what a lab.
Now,
and they may not call it God. But one thing they can tell you is that there is an intelligent design. There is an intelligence, a causal intelligence behind everything we see. That intelligence is not existence, but that intelligence is the basis upon which existence stands. This is pure science. This is not religion.
So there is an intelligence.
There's an intelligence. Now you can choose to, out of your own limited knowledge, call him Allah. You can choose to call him Brahma. You can choose to call him Jehovah. You can choose to call him Elohim. To his credit, I'm also a humanist. But I call myself what you call a mystic humanist. Because number one, I believe that we need to redefine our concept of humanity. We have this concept whereby human beings are actually these worms, decrepit, weak things that are just here by accident, with no purpose, with no mission, with no meaning, have no sense of destiny, have nothing special about them. You see, when you reach from what cosmology and anthropology, now you realize that there was no internet, there was no course. And if you study thousands of cultures, thousands of religions and beliefs that lived thousands of miles apart, who have never had the opportunity to meet each other before, but all come to a conclusion. So if you study anthropology, that is which is the study of human origin, belief systems and all these things, you come to realize that they all agree. And modern science have not established through empirical researches, not just researches, tests, clinical tests. I don't want to use the word God. Please, because God is a coined moniker. Yes. So I prefer to use the word a causal agent. People like Nikola Tesla, Albert Einstein, they believe in that causal intelligence. The problem Albert Einstein had before he died was that he doesn't believe that you can have a personal relationship with the causal intelligence. But he believed there is a God that would subsist in everything, which you call the causal intelligence. That because you cannot see the perfection of the cosmos, whereby in our own galaxies alone, you have currently 2 trillion stars, which are orbiting in a particular direction. That if our world, as tiny and infinitesimal as it is to vibrate by an inch, we will either fry or will freeze. Now, if you look at the perfect design, it is common sense and logic that if I look at my beloved brother here, I cannot say that there was a car crash, bam, and Abraham jumped out of the car crash, which is actually the what we call the theory of confusion. So something came out of nothing. There is no cause, there is no God, there is no origin, there is no source. We are here. How are we here? He can't answer it. Okay, you understand? He can't answer.
Let's now go to the point. Now you have not.
No, I have not even answered the question you asked me. So you understand? Now, if you understand now that first of all, because this is a human body, but if you know that if you subject it to a lab test, this is actually 37 trillion cells. And those cells are invisible, actually interacting with each other to establish this visibility that you call vision. Because what you call matter is frozen light and frozen sound. So at the basis of my physicality, at a cellular level, I am nothing but sound and light. And if you look at the sound and light, there is what we call a governing administrative intelligence that put these things together. Now, within that intelligence, you hear that even what we play at the music, the musical notes is actually put out of the human DNA. Then when you look at the DNA, they actually carried out a test. Max Planck carried out, we call it the double slit experiment, which was done by people like Greg Braden, Dr. Bruce Lipton, and Dr. Joe Dispenza. And they carried out an experiment in a lab, and they brought out a human DNA and put it in a tube, and brought actually a particle of a dust or a particle of a tree, and they realized that the behavior of the particle changed the moment it was exposed to the human DNA.
Sure. Dr. Bish. Okay, Dr. Bish. Yeah. If we go by this analysis,
because if I land, you will understand me.
Okay, land.
If I land, you will understand me. Now, and they noticed that the human DNA had effect on this particle of matter. Then they now realize that, okay, they changed it and they repeated it 1,000 times, because one thing with science, whatever you can repeat again and again and again becomes an established fact. That is what the module of science. And they realized that the human DNA had influence of this thing. Then they come to understand, okay, how is it possible that the DNA can influence matter? Then they now realize that what we are not just the body, but we are actually what an intelligence, a causal, because we are sentient. What is sentient? A sentience is a fractal of what we call religiously a spirit. Now, a spirit is what scientists call the boundless field of energy, or the boundless intelligence, and if you study the quality of this intelligence in the lab, there are two basic things: pure boundless love for everything at the same time, and wisdom. This is science now. Now, then you now realize that now, how do we produce what we call miracle? There is a perfection that exists in nature. I'm a naturalist. I believe that what we call the supernatural is natural. If I'm able to, because there have been incidents whereby I've been able to predict things that I have no knowledge of knowing. I've been able to know things before they happen. Is it actually a unique gift? It's not a unique gift. It's something that is what is aboriginally part of every human being. That is part of our humanity that we need to evolve into. You know, I don't believe in the humanists who believe that we are just natural things, who have no essence, who have no being, we just die here and there's nothing. And because how do you think that chemists have established that the moment the body dies, it loses about 40 grams immediately, instantly? Let's say that there is an intelligence, something that actually exited that
that's
body.
what
And Nikola Tesla established in a lab actually that what we call the sentient, that thing that animates from what we call animal or anima, the animation is not actually living in body. It's something broadcasted from the field into the body. So your brain is not actually intelligent itself. It's something, you are like a decoder, decoding a frequency. So a human being is actually a frequency. It's the frequency of energy. That's what a human being is. We have frequency of energy and we have possibilities. Then what you call the quantum field. You see, you can use your mind, and they notice that there's what we call the observer effect in that research. Now, when you observe a wave, you collapse it into a particle. You observe a wave, you collapse into a particle. In the moment you observe a wave of energy, so the human being has the ability, his mind has the ability to collapse waves into
so
particles.
nothing answers prayer. That's
So what I'm saying is that
there's nothing like
the question is, what is prayer? Prayer is not crying to a beam. Prayer is actually the interaction of the human mind with the forces of nature. And when your mind interacts with forces of nature, you collapse waves into particles.
Thank you.
And I've done it severally.
Thank you, Dr. Bishop.
And he also has done it, but he doesn't know he has done it.
Now, that brings me somewhere. Yeah, that brings me somewhere. Because I'm beginning to feel like I'm not even dealing with any Christian among the body. Because, yes, science used to be a contradiction of Christianity.
No, it was the understanding of science and the understanding of religion. Because, you see, there was a time, there were people who came and separated spirit from science. But now, science is going to understand that thing people call spirit is actually the intelligence behind everything we're studying.
All right, Mr. Daniel. You know, Dr. Bishop has said a lot. He's a doctor, so
like I said,
he has a lot.
You know, I love beautiful talk.
Is that what you call it?
I don't have time. You can just say all the beautiful things.
Yeah.
It is when we take it through scrutiny to just fall like a piece of
Okay,
cake.
I'll
So
ask you this question.
I don't really.
Now, I have been under your ministration, not once. Funny enough,
Yeah.
you were a pastor
Okay.
at Dunamis Church and
New Carol.
Yes, and I saw you preach powerfully. Yes, and I would say I was blessed. Yeah, I'm beginning to doubt if I was blessed, because now the person who preached and I so enjoyed this message is now saying something contrary to what he used to believe. Now, at what point did you switch? What was that fact? What was that understanding? What was that thing that convinced you enough that this thing you were preaching, or you've been preaching over time? I heard you and your friend before the podcast started discussing that you've been a Christian. You were a Christian for a very long time. Quite a long time. And a pastor also for quite a long time also. At what point and what convinced you that Christianity is just a fallacy?
You see, like when we talk about switch, am I excited that you were blessed? At least that moment was well captured. But this is what happened. The whole thing is all about evolving, or what we call deconstructing or deconstruction. It's a journey. It's a process. It's not just something that just happened instantaneously. But what people focus on is that event. They always focus on the events, not the process. Now, for instance, when I was in Assemblies of God in the 90s, I was a young chap, but I was questioning things happening in assemblies. Like, why is this thing like this? Why must women sit here, men sit here? You don't do certain things. Why? So at one point, while I was questioning,
So you have been questioning.
yeah, I was questioning, and while I was questioning, I was rebelling. Yes, I was rebelling. I remember because things. If you tell me something as a little child, and I see a superior answers, I go by it. No matter who you are. So I was that young chap that rebelled. So in assemblies of God, I will question, and they will tell you won't understand the things of this world. Like, why? Why can't I understand? If they are meant for me, I should understand them. So at one point, I had to begin to outsource knowledge. You get knowledge from outside and still be in assemblies. So I was reading books. Then the Idahosa was up. Yeah, and of course, the Hausa was under Assemblies of God, but we were getting material from UK, US. If you remember, they used to send Gideon International, those kind of materials. So we were getting materials abroad. So these things we were eating, and I was studying the Bible. I love the early church. I love the early church so much, that template, and I wasn't seeing it. So at one point, I was rebelling. So it continued until after I became a missionary in Assemblies of God, 1998. I was open to folks like Bishop Abioye, Oyedipo, studying their materials. And at one point when I returned, I did, of course, I had a good success as a missionary. When I returned back, I said, no, I can't. What I knew then, the Assemblies of God couldn't accommodate it. They wanted to send me to their Bible school again to do further studies, but I said no. I had to decline, and from there I left assemblies. Of course, a whole lot of people were not happy. My parents were not happy. Friends, people that supported, believed in me. I had a whole lot, because even in Assemblies of God, I had a ministry, the Young Fishermen. So I left, and from there, and then. So it is not just something that happened. Evolving.
But even while that was evolving, you allowed yourself to become a pastor.
Of course, that's why I'm a pastor, because I was looking for something. So at one point, I was getting something that looks like it, and I will hold it. But when it is not it, I leave it. Because one thing I don't do is self-deception. I don't lie to myself. I can lie to people, but when it comes to myself, come on, boy, I tell myself the truth. Because only me know what I go through. Only me know the pain I will suffer when I, believe in lies. So at one point, even as a Christian, I remember there was a time in my life that I started criticizing the Oyedipos, the Adeboyes, and even as a Christian. Yes, I started talking about apostolic reformation, and men like we call him Noel Woodruff. He's from Trinidad and Tobago, if you know him. So we were talking about church departure from the truth and all of that. And we're talking about the present truth and what the state of the church is, which is prosperity messages and all of that. So we are talking about something deeper. Even then, the likes of Abel Damina were still hovering, preaching prosperity. And that's why for me, even the teaching of Abel Damina doesn't make sense to me till now. Because even then, as I was leaving the system, it wasn't really making sense. I see him as an artist. I have told him that severally. I just see him as somebody enjoying the show. So at one point, the deconstruction continued until I love the teachings of some of the teachings of Maismuro on the kingdom. I was looking at something different. Something that is built on community, socialism. Because if you look at the human nature, that's how it works. And that's why we network, we connect, we relate. We don't literally compete. So that was what I was looking for. So when I did not see it, I found myself at the last bus stop, which was Dunamis. But I was, even when I found myself there, I'll tell you the truth. Even when I did their Bible school, I was very controversial. Very controversial. Look, we'll argue and argue and argue. But one thing about me is that if you, I have personal philosophy. I have no power to criticize what I have no replacement for. If I don't have it, I won't criticize it.
When you don't have an alternative,
a superior alternative. But if I have it, if you like, talk to you tomorrow, I will stand on my ground.
Now, some would argue that you only came to this pattern of understanding because of pain. I've heard people say that you're just pained. That is why you were saying what you were saying. But you are now saying that it has evolved over time. You've been known for this. Now, how do you argue that it wasn't the situation that led to you living dunamis that made you change your pattern into saying what you're saying about the existence of Christ?
It's always funny. I remember when I was a pastor with Glorious Church Assembly, the GO one time called us. We were doing, we call it WBN, World Breakthrough Network. It was a school. The pastor was a student the general overseer was a student like myself. And one day he called all the pastors, his associate, and said, we are going to stop going to that Bible school. And he cited his reasons. Because one of the lecturers taught about faith. He said faith doesn't deny reality. And this pastor believes that faith denies reality because he comes from the lineage of Oyedipo. Faith is absolute. Faith is absolute. You don't take drugs, the just shall live by faith. So he was from that lineage. So I said, excuse me, sir. I'm not leaving. I'm staying in that school. That was how we parted. He fired me. Yes, if you know one man.
That was far back before.
If you know, it's not one man village. Don't mind. Of course, I've lived in one man village before. If you know, there is this Dan Tata village. If you know Dan Tata village, that narrow path. I went. The man gave somebody. I was his assistant pastor. He went where the accommodation he organized. They pushed me out. I had no money. I just sought for little change. I got a place where the thing was slanted like this. So if I sleep there I got one rug. If I lie there, I will roll to the door, wake up and see myself. Say, boy, I continue. So it's real fat. So, but I wasn't bothered because one thing about me, if it is what I know, if you like, let the whole world stand against me. I sleep.
You are ready to be single.
I sleep and snore. If you, the day I was being taken to prison, I was snoring in the car, and the man was like, "Oh God, now prison they go." I said, "No, that's not the kind of person I am. I have this peace. I don't depend on the external. When I mean external, all the happenings do not really bother me. So what am I trying to say? When when people think, oh, it's the pain, no pain at all. Of course. These things happened, but they were not the best plan. No, they never propelled me. They were just part of the things that enhanced my decision.
Yeah, so you tried asking questions and it was not
answered. And of course, people know me, and the guy there knows. He himself know me, Abraham. When it comes to Abraham, you can be sweating with me because I will ask you questions, and I have big eyes.
Dr. Bishop, do you think Christianity is trying to pattern this no question thing for a reason? Because now, I have heard so many people say that Christianity
first of all, I like a good example is this. You see, whatever journey my beloved brother here Abraham has gone through, I also went through that journey. I have been questioning because you see, over the years there were things that led me to study parapsychology, which is the science of phenomena, the phenomena of the mind. There are things that led me to read metaphysics. And there are things that made me to go into science because I'm beginning to make study and practice certain things. I have gone to the limit to actually prove certain things to myself. And I've come to a conclusion after all my journey and hiatus around different religion, to a conclusion that you see, every religion is a language to a particular people. They are trying to give expression to the divine. And I can tell you, this is not hocus pocus. This is not just a narrative. This is proven science. That is why if you read cellular biology, you read quantum physics. If you read epigenesis, you come to a concrete realization that there's actually intelligence. There is spirit behind there is spirit behind matter. Now, after all this journey, I come to a conclusion that the best language that actually express my own personal experience and what I call my inward knowledge is Christianity. You see, and I've come to realize that what you see, they can call it whatever, the intelligence, this. I now come to the fact that you see, Christ is actually the pure expression of our humanity. Like I've always taught, I say Jesus is not just like the savior of the world. He is actually what the reflection and the revelation of what a human being is. And when you see the concept of the incarnation of the Logos is the fact that what, not that God became flesh, that what God was revealed to actually be found in the human DNA. So God is in flesh. And you see, you didn't know that what, if you look at what we call the carbon table and the gematria, and what the human body is basically based of what, oxygen, nitrogen, carbon, and hydrogen. You see, then you have what you call what the numerical value of these four things that constitute our physicality is 1, 3, 6, 5. Then the gematria of this is a Yo, Heva, and the Gmail. Then if you look at what every culture from the Sanskrit, which is one of the oldest language on earth, down to what Aramaic, Arabic, and what the Hebrew. Now if you look at the gematria of it and you compute it into a computer, science computed it, and what they use what the CTG, which is what the basis of the human DNA. Now if you look at the CTG, which is the basis of the human DNA, and you compute it and you put it with the carbon table, that the atomic table that they taught us in the school, then the numerical value of this number. Now they now realize, because you see, when Greg Baden started researching, he spent close to about what, almost 10 million, and spent 40 years researching. He traveled to every culture around the world, and while they were making the experiment, they realized that what, because you see, the human DNA is in layers. At the top layer, when they quantize the figure, the numerical value of the top layer of the human DNA is what God eternal in the human body. Now, meaning that what it also capture what Christianity says, like the Bible says, that what that there's a mystery that is hidden from generation. You know, we preach that Christ enters into people. I don't believe that. Jesus does not jump in and out of people. You know, I believe that what Jesus is the natural construct of every human being, whether you're a Muslim or a Muslim, medicine, whatever you choose to call it. The ancient mystics, the philosophers of the Greek philosophers, the Socrates, they call it the logos or the pragma, which is the underlying principle or power or intelligence that actually subsists. That is the basis for phenomena, manifestation, physicality, and everything. They call it the logos. If you go to any religion, because you see, the mistake we make is that, you see, the problem with Christianity is not really that Christianity is wrong. You see, it is a presentation. And most of the times, the people who are peddling it are hustlers. You understand? Because you see, when Marcus Aurelius read the book of John, he said something. When he read about the logos, he said, I am a scholar, I'm an intelligent person. It is either the person who wrote this book is actually the son of the gods, or actually he's talking about what, a god. Now, what are we saying in essence? When you look at Christ, or the concept of Christ, or the logos being made flesh, what do you see? You're actually seeing the revelation of the human identity. So when I look at you, I don't look at what, a decrepit being. I actually see a human being that is encapsulated with divinity. And if the true veil is removed from your mind, the real thing that you are, which is the frequency of the spirit, will manifest. That is why we are capable of all this. Now, you see, when you see what people have done, do you know currently now, there are people, there's a guy, there are some scientists in Japan, Shinoto, who actually are now being able to what, to actually store up to 1 gig of information into the human cell. That is, they can download, just like how you see this video now, they can download it into the cell. There are mechanisms now. They can download it into my cell now. And when I begin to give birth to children, at my 10th generation, you can pick a strand of DNA from my 10th generation and be able to unwrap the same information that was encoded into their great-grandfather. That's what we call gene editing. So they can actually look at you if you have let's say cancer in your bloodline. They can actually edit the cancer out of the sperm, and when you conceive, you can edit Eugene, you can even increase the ability of man to be able to see in darkness. Yes, this is pure science. This is proven science. Yeah, they can work on your gene whereby you can see in science. And America and China are already working on it. These are not theories. Yeah. These are real. Let me say this. These are real. As he is now, as a humanist that he is now. Do you know, he doesn't believe it. He thinks he's just a human body. But beyond the body, there is something that is animating this body that makes this beautiful smile. But you see, he has not yet reached reach that subatomic level of his mind.
Excuse me.
No,
I'm coming. Let me respond randomly,
Okay.
maybe before your question. You see, like I said, I love this kind of beautiful narrative. It's not like
It's not a narrative,
no,
it's a
excuse me,
science.
excuse me,
I'm telling you science and fact, like
excuse
I'm
me,
verifying.
excuse
It's a
me,
verifiable fact.
excuse me.
It's not a narrative.
It's just like
It's a clinical test.
it's
It's like me telling you now that
it's just
1 plus
like-
1 is 2.
Excuse
It's not
me.
a narrative.
I'm
It's not a
coming.
narrative.
It's just like a young lady that added a whole lot of cosmetic, and when you beautiful, when you push aside, you're like, whoa, now you be that. So that's the kind of things he talks about. So
Okay, let me ask you a question.
but I'm coming.
I wanna ask you-
I'm responding
let's
to
hear you say
you.
something.
I'm responding to you. You see, when you hear culture having their gods kind of approaching, calling, giving a god name or a deity, it is all about human beings trying to identify something they don't know and tagging it or giving it a name. I'm coming. If you have watched this movie, Gods Must Be Crazy.
Yeah.
It's so humorous. But something happened. That Coca-Cola bottle fell from somebody flying a plane, and they thought it came from the god. And they were so happy, reverencing it and honoring it. So what kept them at that level was limited knowledge. But the guy that threw that thing down, if you give that guy that same Coca-Cola, you say, he will just push you aside.
Yeah.
So I one thing about people is that what they don't know, sometimes they begin to ascribe it and begin to make it so beautiful and so perfectly. So when people that know it look at it, oh boy, now this thing you beautify like that. So that's what it is when I hear people like him talk.
Now,
but let me tell you now,
Yes.
the whole concept of culture, Jesus and all of that is just a beautiful narrative. And that's why I said, look, no matter how you paint this guy, or no matter how you paint this narrative, it doesn't have a role in humanity. No role, no input.
All right.
Just a script.
Mr.
Abraham.
Daniel. Now I would want to ask you, how did you come into existence? Do you think there is a God factor? Do you think it's just science, or do you think you just appeared? How did you come into existence? And look at that being like you. How were you structured? How did you become? And what are you becoming? And all that. Do you also believe, maybe at the end of your description and all that, you also tell us if you believe that after this world you're going somewhere?
No, I'm not going nowhere. I'm done. Now, you see, when people tell me how did I come to be, that makes me to begin to look at my father and mother more. Those guys played a role. So there's nothing mystical about how I came.
Human existence.
No, a male and a female came together, and look at me here.
So if we trace it back to,
if you keep
the first
tracing,
man,
to the first man, that's where I tell people. You see, most times what we see as questions 200 years ago, what was a question to them 200 years ago? If they wake up now, wake them up. If they could be woken up, like wake them up to what we have today, they were like, wow. Because what this microphone was a major burden to them 200 years ago. The smartphones we have, that I could do a video call, I could interact with somebody.
Evolved.
So yes, they evolved. So most of the things that they never knew then, we know now. And in the next 200-300 years from now, when most of us will be gone, most of what we call questions today will be answered to them. So when you ask me the first man, I don't know yet. But the truth is, sex happened. The meeting of a male and a female brought me. And when people said when you die, there's nowhere you're going. You shut down, and you are gone.
So there's no life after that.
There's no life. Was there life before birth? There was no life before birth. You see, that's one thing I talk when I meet people and they talk. I feel a whole lot of burden. When I mean burden, I just empathy. The reason why I said empathy is because when people drive narrative, they push narrative. I don't like complexity. I love simplicity, because for me, lies thrives on complexity. But truth so simple.
Do you think you owe your former members, apology? Those people you preached Christ.
Man, and that's why you see, if you watch me, They insult me a lot. Insult me a lot, and sometimes I could be funny too. I give it to them. If you insult me, I insult you big time. So I take my time daily, keep talking and keep talking and keep talking. Because we're all victims. I was a victim too. I was a victim of knowledge. Victim of knowledge. So, victim
not knowledge, misinformation.
Misinformation.
You cannot be a victim of knowledge.
No. What you know per time. Either way, you can. It's all about terminology, though. Yeah. I was victim. So, and for me, I got my freedom. And like yesterday, I wrote and I said I wish anybody around me could be deconstructive, or deconstructed, evolve from either religion or especially Christianity, because Christianity has messed things up. I'm not joking. Has reduced people to, I don't want to use some words. People say, look, you don't have respect for people, but they have reduced human beings to clowns, like toy robots. Until we begin to...
You want to point out an example?
A practical example. You see, somebody is setting up a Jesus guy, and everybody want to be like him, and everybody love Jesus, and you ask yourself, what has he really done for you? You begin to look for answers. Say, he died for my sins. Like, how?
He died for your sins?
How? What was my sins that he died for? Tell me, did I ask him to die for my sins? Why didn't he die for my bills? You see, most times we have to target to what you can scrutinize so that you can run away with. But when you begin to tag him to what you can scrutinize, he fizzles out because he doesn't exist.
So why didn't he die for your bills?
Bills, man. Why didn't he die for my? It's not funny. It's a fact.
I'll ask you this question.
Okay.
No, let's not bounce so far on that. But I will ask you this question: did Jesus die for your sin?
Now, you see, it's a
Dr.
whole...
Bishop, I want you to make it easy.
Yeah. You see, number one, I'm a teacher.
Yes.
You understand?
I know.
I'm a researcher.
I know.
And I love to explain things for people to understand.
Yes.
I don't like clickbait.
Tell
You
us
see, it's
now.
easy to say it's wrong or right. Like, for example, now you asked my brother a question.
If Jesus died.
No, not even
Okay,
not before the first question you ask him. Does God exist? He said no. How do you come into existence? He said, well, just random chance. Now,
I didn't say that.
No.
That is what.
No. You said we just came to be.
No.
That's what evolved.
No. I said my parents. I said my parents.
Okay, then where do your parents evolve from?
From my grandparents.
Where did they evolve
My
from?
great grandparents.
To whom? Where do you trace it to? Now the point is, whether you like it or not, there is an origination point. That is what science is. You see, this is what we call what? The science of confusion. Because whether we like it or not, I can trace this phone to an origin.
Yeah.
I can trace this cloth I'm wearing to an origin. This is common sense. Because you are a champion of common sense. Because and what you're saying does not actually subscribe to common sense. Now it's common sense. I can trace this thing to an origin. You can trace human being to an origin.
What is the origin? May I ask you?
Yes,
now?
I'm going. Yeah,
Maybe we should
yes.
ask him now.
If you've been listening to me, yes,
you said
I know the origin because you see.
Let's
Okay,
go
what-
to the origin. The origin of our existence.
Okay. When we talk about origin,
Yes.
as an ex-Christian and ex-pastor, I have seen the Christian view of origin.
Which creation is
Which is creation.
You don't believe.
It doesn't really make sense. Okay. Not because if you begin to scrutinize it, begin to look at it in details, it doesn't make sense. Somebody murdered some guy and breathed into his nostril, and the guy became a living soul. And he said, of course, before he did that, he said, let us make man in our image and our likeness, after our likeness and all that. You see, I always enjoy folks like him. One time I had a podcast section, and this guy told me he's coming with a guest, and we'll be having a whole lot like what we are having now, and the person will be a Christian. And I said, whoa, I love it. And I was looking forward. I think I've had it twice. This is the third one now. And I was looking forward to meet a Christian. And at the end of the day, I was literally meeting not a Christian, because if you look at, he's just shooting himself, and I just laugh.
No, listen.
I'm coming. You know, he asked me a question.
Yes.
So most times when people want to really make sense as Christians, they don't really make sense. So they have to drift. They have to bring in science. They have to bring, they have to, like when someone is falling, you have to hold something. So sometimes I'll just sit down and watch. No stress. Because you see, one thing, I'm not a scientist.
Yeah.
But I'm a human being.
Yes.
I'm a human being, and that's why I said a humanist.
Yeah.
So most times when I hear science talk, I still scrutinize them. I hear anybody talk, we still scrutinize. So when you tell me, it's even best for science to tell you we don't know yet. So when I look at the creation of man, written in the Bible, it doesn't make sense, because
now, what makes sense to you when it comes to creation? The first man,
nothing.
How did we come into existence?
How do we come into existence? Now, I've seen the part of science talking about the Big Bang and all of that. I still, it doesn't make sense to me.
So to you,
now, so this is what I have concluded. I don't know yet. I am not saying that, look, we just appear, but I don't know yet. So if I don't know yet, don't judge me on it.
but is there anyone that is even closer to?
None, because if you scrutinize, I saw science. Even science makes sense more, but
If science makes sense, why are you not accepting what I'm telling you? I've been telling you pure science for the past 1 hour.
Excuse me. If you were telling me about pure science, you can't be telling me about Jesus Christ mixed with pure science. It doesn't make. You see, you are literally.
Okay, first of all,
Jesus and science.
Okay, first of all, let me put it to Abraham. Listen.
That
That's what I'm going
doesn't
to.
have.
Now understand. You see, from your answer, I can tell you categorically you are not an atheist, you are an agnostic.